Hello, students. Hello again, and welcome to another English language lesson for the SS2 students of Sleek Angels International School. How are you all today? I trust you are doing well. Today, we are looking at a vocabulary class, and our topic is words associated with publishing. As usual, before we go into the class, I would want to give you an update on what is going on within Rivers State, Nigeria, and worldwide concerning the coronavirus. Now, this section here takes the place of our news section in class, where you usually come in with the headlines of things happening, the headlines of news you've heard, either on radio or on TV, and then we'll discuss it a bit before we get into our class. But since we can't do that here, I am bringing the news to you right into the comfort of your home. So it's my turn to give you headlines. All right, concerning the coronavirus, which is what is on the lips of everybody right now, it's the reason why you are at home and I am at home. It's the reason why I am bringing this lesson to you from my home, online. As it stands in the world right now, today is the 15th of May, and as at this morning, the confirmed cases worldwide, people who have contracted the disease, are about 4,440,989 people. Those who have recovered from the virus are numbering about 1,587,780, and deaths so far 302,376. That is worldwide. In Nigeria, we have 5,162 confirmed cases. 1,180 people have recovered, and we have recorded 167 deaths. Then, in Rivers State, we have confirmed 33 people. 33 people have contracted the disease, 5 have recovered, and 3 have died. The virus is real, people. A little more information concerning what the world is doing to seeing that things get back to whatever kind of normalcy, at least that is better than sitting at home. There's an antiviral medication that was initially developed as a treatment for Ebola virus. That antiviral medication is called remdesivir, and right now it is being tested as a specific treatment for COVID-19. It has been authorized for emergency use in the US and Japan for people with severe symptoms. Okay, so remdesivir, an antiviral medication. They say it may shorten the time it takes to recover from COVID-19, and the treatment is given by an injection, injecting the antiviral medication into one's vein. So we are waiting patiently, and we believe that very soon something will turn out. The world is working, and so while that is being done, I encourage every one of you to please continue to stay safe. The virus is real. It's real. I have lost someone, a dear friend of mine. I lost her about a week ago, and it was a coronavirus issue. Okay, so please stay safe. It's real. Stay safe, people. Okay, we're looking at words associated with publishing. So, what is publishing? Publishing is the profession or business of preparing and printing books, magazines, CD-ROMs, etc., and selling or making them available to the public. Publishing is the profession or business of preparing and printing books, magazines, CD-ROMs, etc., and selling or making them available to the public. Now, I know some of you never thought that publishing was a profession. Probably you may think that publishing has to do with only business, but it's actually a profession as well. Publishing involves a whole lot. Like the definition here says, it's the profession or business of preparing and printing. Preparing and printing. Now, there's a lot that goes into preparing. There's a lot that goes into printing. These two processes involve a lot. And that is what makes the publishing business very, very huge. Now, let me explain. In the Western world, where publishing is done properly, and where the different stages are gone through, or the different stages take place, okay, publishing actually starts from the author of a book. The author of a book. Now, when this author has finished writing his manuscript, the manuscript is usually the first draft of the book that hasn't been printed. Now, the author looks for an agent. Now, this agent is the middleman between the author and the publishers. Another thing you should know is that many publishing companies actually have agents who go out scouting for authors, or agents that authors scout for. It depends on the relationship. Sometimes publishing houses go out and actually scout for talent, authors, but sometimes an author can just write his book, okay, look for an agent, someone who will connect him to a publishing company. Now, the agent, like I said before, is either a freelance agent, one who works on his own, or an agent attached to a publishing house. Now, after the author has contacted the agent and the author writes some kind of query, a letter, sort of, introducing himself to the agent, okay, telling the agent who he is or she is, the kind of book he or she has written. Remember, it depends on the kind of book that the author has written. If the author has written a non-fiction or a fictional book, the author will look for agents who market such books. You don't go looking for an agent who markets or who can help you with to publish your fictional book, and you give the agent a non-fictional book. No. So you look for the right agents. Now, like I said, some publishing houses have agents on their own. So you just get yourself acquainted with your agent, introduce yourself to your agent, and let the agent know. Possibly, if you've written other books before, you let the agent see them. Okay, if you haven't written another book before, if the author hasn't written another book before, okay, he just gives the manuscript he's written to the agent. The agent goes through it. Now, the agent gives the books to, or the manuscripts to, the people we call readers. Now, these readers, like I said, they could be part of a publishing company or they could be freelance as well. Now, but most readers actually work in publishing companies. So, after reading the book, if the reader sees that the book is marketable, if it's something that the reader thinks can appeal to the general public, whatever genre of book it is, if the reader believes that this book will sell, okay, the reader and the publishing company, for instance, then get into a contract with the author. In this contract, of course, they pay the author. Now, it depends. If the author wants to sell his copyright, that is to sell the manuscript outrightly, and then when the book is printed, his name is not on it, it's possible. But if the author says, okay, fine, I'm not selling my copyright, but I want you to do the publishing for me, I want you to do the distribution for me. That is the business aspect of publishing. So the publishing company will take on the contract of printing the book, publishing it, distributing it, storing it, as well. And then we'll get into a contract with the author on what percentage of sales the author gets and the publishers get. The publishing house as well will take the author on tours around the country. Now, if this author, for instance, is a known author, if it's someone that is known, okay, the advertisement to get people to come to bookstores and hear the author read his book wouldn't be difficult. But then even if the author is new, the publishing house has its way of advertising the author in such a way that people are interested, advertising the book and the author. People are interested, and then the author goes on tour. The tour involves the author making appearances in different big bookstores where people come and the author reads, some extracts from his book. He is asked questions. Conversations are held concerning things about the book, and after which people buy them, and then the author endorses with his signature. You can imagine going to a read of one of John Grisham's novels, and at the end of the day, by the way, John Grisham is one of my favorite authors, and then by the end of the day, or at the end of the day, he endorses the book, he signs the book for me. It's a huge deal. So these are the things they do to get the book sold. Now, something I forgot to mention earlier, at the beginning of the publication or the publishing process, where the author has given his book to an agent, and the agent has given the book to a reader in a publishing company to read. Now, the reader, I told you that the reader reads the book and sees if the book is marketable, if it's something that can be sold. Now, if the reader looks at it and finds that yes, this book or this work can actually be sold, okay, and the reader notices that, but if the work has to be sold, some corrections will have to be made here and there. Not corrections per se, but some changes. Okay, so the reader could suggest changes. For instance, if it's a fictional book and at the end of the book or something, the protagonist is meant to die, the reader can suggest to the author to change that plot and put in something else, getting the reader or the author to know that people will buy this book if it goes this certain way. And if the author agrees, the author will actually take the manuscript and go and make these changes. So that's what is in the process of publishing. It's a back and forth process until the book or the magazines are in the market. So it's a very huge deal. And that is why I said it is the profession or business of preparing. Preparation is a huge deal. Contracts are signed, money changes hands and all that. And then, of course, printing and selling of the books. Now, some publishing companies in Nigeria, we have the University Press PLC. We have Evans Brothers, Nigeria Publisher PLC, Learn Africa, Tanus, Cambridge University Press. And these are some of the publishing houses or publishing companies where we get some of the textbooks that we use in school. Note that this process of publishing, can be bypassed. The process I just explained can actually be bypassed. Some authors decide to publish their books by themselves. They write, give the book to somebody to edit, make their corrections and changes, and then go and just meet a publishing company and then pay them and publish the book. Here, the author himself markets his book. He's responsible for marketing. He's responsible for storing the book by himself. But the other way I explained earlier on, after the book has been published, it is the duty. It is part of the contract of the publishing company to do the marketing, to do the selling, to do the storage of these books until they are sold off. If the book needs to be reprinted because of the demand, the high demand in the market, the publishers or the publishing company will go on and do that as well. So all the author has to do is just sit down, relax, and then his royalties come to him. Most established authors, are still earning from books they wrote several years ago, because these books are always in constant demand, and the publishing houses that published these books at the beginning, when they were first printed, are still in charge of the books, and so they keep publishing and publishing, and they still keep making money from this book. So publishing, if done correctly, is actually a very huge business. But in Nigeria, we have a high rate of people who tamper with other people's copyright. People take people's works, go and photocopy them and sell. And this is not good at all. It doesn't help the person who has done the original work earn as much as he is supposed to earn. And this is actually very, very wrong. So like I said, publishing is a very huge business. Here are some words associated with publishing. There are so many words associated with publishing, so many of them. So many words. There are words that have to do with just the book, the author, the process of publishing, the technical terms, so many. But you may not get to learn all these words in just one class. So this makes it necessary for you, since this is something you are supposed to know, to do a little research on your own and find out many more words associated with publishing, more words than the words we are going to see in this class right now. Let's look at the first word there, manuscript. Manuscript. It's a copy of a book, piece of music, etc., before it is printed, or a very old book or document that was written by hand before printing. Manuscript is the original draft, the first draft, the original draft, okay, that the author works, or the original draft of the author's work. The author's work, his imagination, what he has penned down. In those days, authors used to write with pens or feathers, and ink. Feathers and ink. Okay. Now, the process has become better. Some of these manuscripts are handwritten, okay, with pen. Sometimes they are typed, okay, on the computer. So the pictures here, there are three types of manuscripts up here. The first one on the left is a very old manuscript. Then the one in the middle is a handwritten manuscript, and then the one on the right is a typed manuscript. So if you enlarge it a little bit, you should be able to see it better. So the old one on the left, the middle one, and then the typed one. You can even see that on the typed manuscript, something has been written with a pen, okay, maybe some corrections or some additions or whatever, okay, into the manuscript. All right, and then we have the reader. I mentioned the reader earlier on. I said the reader works in a publishing house and is the person who reads the manuscript to see if it will appeal to the public. I mentioned this earlier on. The reader reads and sees if it will appeal. If it will appeal to the public, the reader gives a go-ahead. If it doesn't appeal to the public, or the reader has suggestions to make, the reader makes these suggestions. Now, here is a picture of someone reading a book. It's just to explain, the act of reading. But then there are two other pictures here where you see someone reading with a device, a tablet, okay? And that's just to let you know that these days, okay, manuscripts are usually typed. It's really difficult for people to, not really difficult per se, but I believe that people are more used to now, because of the advent of the tablet, the laptop. People would rather type their manuscripts, okay, and send the soft copy to the readers. Okay, so this manuscripts can be read on your devices, on the reader's devices, not necessarily, a hard copy or a piece of paper. Okay, so here are more words associated with publishing. Author, a person who writes books or who wrote a particular book. Example, in a sentence, who is your favorite author? Who is your favorite author? I mentioned earlier on that John Grisham is my favorite author. Okay, the pictures beside author are just to show you how the process of writing has evolved over the years, over the centuries. Initially, it used to be people dipping feathers into ink bottles or ink containers to write on paper. And then, of course, writing with your hand, that never goes away. Then the advent of the typewriter, which we see in the first picture. And then, of course, the laptop. Now, the last picture shows you someone who could be an author standing in front of an audience. Yes, this usually happens when authors go on tour and he has to explain a little about his book, or he holds conversations with his readers, people who read his books. He holds conversations with them about the process of writing the book and certain other things. Okay, so sometimes authors end up becoming public speakers. Okay, so that's about author. Then edition, the form or number of copies of a book, newspaper, or magazine. Example in a sentence: Sally Wymeyer is the chief editor of the 7th edition of the Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary. I do not know how many editions we have right now of the Advanced Learners Dictionary, but I know we have quite a number of them. I think it should be about 10 or so. Yes, about the 10th edition, if not more. Yeah, the 10th edition, or possibly the 11th by now. Yes. So why do we have so many editions of books like this? Now, these editions are usually this edition or revising an edition, you usually find them in academic books. This is very particular in academic books, where you have a textbook and then the next thing you're seeing the second edition of the textbook. Now, you get a second edition or a third edition after the previous editions have been revised. And that is why we have a revised edition. Okay, so in a revised edition, okay, the author has added new ideas or eliminated obsolete concepts. Okay, the author removes things that are not necessary and adds things that are very necessary. For instance, in the dictionary, okay, some words could be known or termed as obsolete words, words that are no longer relevant, okay, and so they are removed and then new words are added into the dictionary. I was listening to CNN the other day and they talked about new vocabulary coming up because of COVID-19, things like physical distancing, etc. and etc. Okay, so new words come up. Then knowledge also grows. The way I was taught mathematics when I was much younger is different from the way you will probably be taught mathematics. Things are made a little simpler and easier for you than it used to be in my time. And so to make it easier or better for people, editions of books are revised and then things are added to them, okay, to make them better and to meet the needs of the society at a particular point in time. Then, still on words associated with publishing, we have hardback or paperback. Okay, a book may have a hard outer covering or a light outer covering. This impacts its cost. This impacts its cost. For instance, books with hard outer coverings are usually more expensive than books with light outer coverings. Okay, and these books with hard outer coverings usually come with a jacket as well, you know. So, yes, hardback or paperback. And then we have review, an examination of something with the intention of changing it if necessary. Review is like revising, okay? This textbook is due to be reviewed. Review is like revising. The same thing we learned or we saw in the previous slide. Then imprint, the name of the publisher of a book, usually printed below the title on the first page. Example in a sentence, the publisher's imprint is too vague. Okay, the imprint is usually at the bottom of the book, just at the first page down, okay, where the name of the publisher as well is written. Sometimes you find the name of the publisher at the back too, at the back of the book. Okay, but usually the name of the publisher of a book is written or printed below the title on the first page at the bottom. Okay. Copyright, a statement showing the person who holds publication rights, usually forbidding unauthorized duplication. I said this earlier on. I said authors can decide to sell their copyrights, okay, to publishing outfits. And in that way, the author is not recognized as the person who has written a particular book. Okay, but then the author has the right. He holds the publication rights. And if anybody goes on to duplicate it, the person could be sued to court. The person could be sued to court and should be sued to court. And that was why I mentioned earlier on that in Nigeria, we have so many cases of people violating this copyright law, picking up people's books and going to duplicate to sell. And that is really, really wrong. Okay, here are some more words, and I have helped to let you know which parts of speech these words belong to. Bind, for instance, is a verb, okay, and you can use bound, its past tense form, to put pages of a book together after printing. Binding is the noun. Blob is a noun. Short promotional description of a book, usually printed on its jacket. You know, the short promotional description of a book, like when you pick up a book, you go to the back of the book, okay? It's either written at the back or the inside back cover of the book. That's where you have the blob. Then we have chapter, a noun, one of the main divisions or sections of a book. We have contents, a noun, table of contents, lists of chapters, etc. at the front of the book. To edit is a verb, that's to check, modify, generally prepare written material for publication. This is the job of the readers. This is what the readers do. They read, they edit, okay? Editing is also done during reviews or when an edition is being revised. Okay, fiction, writing that describes imaginary events and people. Then you should know that non-fiction writes about real events. Typeset, to set in type, that's to change handwriting to a particular type. Then we have the front cover, the first outside part of a book's jacket carrying the title and the author's name. We have the index, which is a noun, alphabetical list of words, names, etc. at the end of the book with page numbers. Okay, this is particular when you're talking about academic books. Inside front cover, the front flap of the book's jacket, sometimes carrying the blob. Okay, it also happens at the back as well. Inside front cover, inside back cover as well. Then we have the jacket, the protective paper cover supplied with most hardbacks. I told you this earlier on. It's also called the dust jacket. Then we have a spine, that part of a book or of a book's jacket that usually faces outward on a shelf. You know, when you arrange books on a shelf, that part of the book that faces us or you is known as the spine. Then type, printing type, system of letters, okay, for printing, also known as typeface. Okay, so that's all there is to this particular lesson on words associated with publishing. I want you to look for anything at all. You can go on the internet. I always tell you that Google is a very good resource center, as it were. Go on Google and just type in words associated with publishing. You will see some of these words I have talked to you about, and you will see even more. So many words. Okay, I have something for you to do for me now. It's a homework from your book or in your book, Excellence in English Senior Secondary Students Book 2, pages 159 to 163. Now you're to work on the comprehension questions A to J on pages 162 and 163, and on the vocabulary exercises 7 and 8 on page 163. So this is your assignment for me. Okay, this is the assignment you need to do and submit to me. You have my email address, you have my WhatsApp number. Please, I want to appeal again. When you write in your notebooks and take a picture and send, some of you are not really careful to take these pictures very well. And some of you do not have phones that have very clear cameras. Now, this work I am giving you, I know most of you may not be able to type it because it's a bit bulkier than what I have been giving you previously. But if you can type it, that would be very, very superb. You type it, you send it to me. I'll actually store it. And then when we get back to school, I will give it to you. But then if you cannot type and you decide to write in your notebooks, please make sure you position the notebook very, very well. Take the picture and send. Make sure that the picture is clear. Do not just send the picture to me without looking at it. Make sure it is clear. All right. So the footnote, for those of you who do not have my email address and my WhatsApp number, okay, the admin who is sending this video to you will put it at the footnote. Okay, so have a very lovely day. Make sure you stay safe until I come your way again.